I would like to begin this video by stating first and foremost that this reviewer did not finish the game. However, I played as far as I could before deciding I had enough of a grasp of the game itself before accurately writing this review. I hope this will not derail any of the points I intend to make. So before you write BDG a nasty comment about not finishing the game, understand this is my review and these are my opinions. Please direct all comments toward me and me alone, not the whole of BDG. Thank you.
Aeterna Noctis, I will never pronounce this right, depicts the story of a centuries-long war of good and evil propelled by the creator of everything, Chaos. When he created living beings and bestowed upon them free will, they began to grow hungry for power, creating only two factions, somehow, good and evil. Chaos doomed the leaders of both factions, still dumbfounded how there's only two, to fight for all time in an endless and continuous war. When one monarch would fall, the winner would take control of Aeterna and keep the equilibrium of their own rule. The loser would become mortal and have to reacquire all that made them powerful enough to stand to the leader of existence.
You will play as the King of Darkness in this game, as he lost the most recent battle between himself and the Queen of Light. This opening animation will depict all of that. The King of Darkness will fall to the mortal realm and remember that he must acquire 7 fragments of the Shrine of Kings, place them back on the pillar so he can ascend to the heavens and take on the Queen of Light once more.
Almost every single main quest or story element in this game will annoy the King of Darkness, as he meets each one with the same fervor as anyone would an invitation from your one annoying family member. He'll describe his objectives in full to himself, or act as if the information his followers give him only annoys him further. He's done this before for several centuries, sure, but treat your followers with some respect. They support you, dude. Try having some empathy. You plan to rule over them, and this holier-than-thou attitude is not something they need, specifically in the places they live. Everywhere is a desolate wasteland full of monsters and fire. Do you really think they need more discontent?
Aeterna Noctis is a hand-drawn 2D action platformer with exploration elements that centers on a war between good and evil that will never truly end. While I was initially intrigued by the idea of an all-powerful godlike character losing their abilities and having to reconquer and adventure and reacquire their lost powers, I was not prepared for the manner in which this is done. Aeterna Noctis takes the form of a disturbingly difficult platforming game in which you collect mirror shards to create a picture, pieces of health orbs to give yourself more HP, 7 shards of a Throne of Kings, and 10 keys to re-unlock your godlike skills. Skills like dashing, wall climbing, and more. Again, I was initially taken in by the dreary outlook the game had, and the fact the lands are desolate, desperate, and destroyed, and the fact there were platforming puzzles to solve.
Unfortunately, from the get-go, Noctis introduces a system of painful, unfriendly, and unfair difficulty that infects and derails the entire game. Ordinarily, difficulty of this magnitude in games is saved for New Game Plus and/or platforming puzzles with great rewards at the other end. Do you know what your reward for completing any of the spine-tightening platforming puzzles in this game is? Progress. There is no glory of victory sensation here. You are only ever met with the feeling of, I'm so happy that's over and I never have to do that again. Instead of consuming a meal you initially thought was too large for you to finish, this game resembles a series of invasive surgeries. Sure, both are difficult, and the idea of victory is present in both scenarios, but one is decidedly more unpleasant. You instead become a slave to the purple torches placed sporadically and frequently.
Now, this type of gameplay and difficulty may appeal to some people, and that is okay. It did not appeal to this reviewer, however. This reviewer was not thrilled with being defeated by meticulous platforming puzzles that were simply used as pieces for progression instead of paths for prizes. There were rare moments where there were actual paths that become more difficult than simply traveling through the game, and those had actual prizes at the end, but your most draining and frustrating moments come when simply trying to progress. That's insane.
As if Noctis wasn't already handing the player enough issues, navigation. Navigation is another huge issue in this incredibly frustrating game. Upon entering a new area and exploring a bit, you'll notice your map will populate with very little information along the paths you travel. That is because the area is covered in a fog of sorts. To dissipate the fog, you must discover a hunchback NPC in the area and purchase the map from him. Unfortunately, devoid of a map, similar looking environments and being unable to rely on paths you've traveled make getting lost the expectation in each area. Map occupation as you explore is a staple of the Metroidvania, still a stupid word, genre, but it was forgotten and replaced with a purchasable map from an NPC who is nearly impossible to find. It's infuriating.
The issues of navigation, simple travel, and meticulously planned platforming are all compounded and emphasized by one system that, for some reason, is integral to powering up the King of Darkness: the Purple Orb system. The King of Darkness has this purple orb that he will lose periodically that allows him to collect experience points from defeating enemies, continue to fill his blood meter, which allows him to heal, and will remove this awful purple vignette that will infest the screen, which means if you lose this purple orb, be it on the field or in battle, you can no longer collect experience points, the blood meter will leak constantly, and this agitating purple spiderweb will invade the edges of your screen. How you get the orb back is by navigating your way back to where it was lost in the field, or defeating the enemy who defeated you and take it back.
The other annoying way to get your purple orb back is by using your portal, returning to the altar of the 7 kings, and talking to this ghostly avatar. He'll mock you for using it, which is very rude, charge you 5,000 money for it, and remind you that you lose all stocked experience points from when you lost it. So if you've been fighting enemies since you lost it, or you had almost a full level up stocked up, you lose it all. It's even more infuriating.
In many ways, I essentially gave up on this game within the first 4 hours. The frustration and discontent caused by simply navigating the game, the power-ups and upgrades, and the overall aesthetic of Aeterna Noctis did not outweigh my want to spend my time and patience elsewhere. This game is a blend of meticulously planned platforming, navigational issues that center around not having a sense of direction or a map, and basic combat where you will never be strong enough to take down any enemy in less than 3 hits. To reiterate, this reviewer did not complete Aeterna Noctis. This reviewer does not ever intend to complete Aeterna Noctis. This is not a game for the casual action platforming fan, and that is very evident by hour 1. My frustrations and disappointment with the design and flow of the game, frustrations with basic friggin' movement, and the constant input eating led me to a precarious decision, and I decided to prioritize my own patience and time over a game that was no longer worth either. If you would like to read a review of this game that gives a different perspective on this particular piece of media, please read our written review of this game. Brisbit worked with us to deliver another great written review, as we did in the past with Destroy All Humans. Check it out on our website.